between 30 and 45 minutes, right? So yeah. All right. So we're live. All right. So welcome everyone. This is the second episode of Voices from the Grind, where we talk about all things personal finance. I'm your host, Joe, the Wealth Architect, and I am pleased to have my friend. We call her BB, but her name is, I always forget how to pronounce it.
Ibelis.
Evilise. And we've known each other for several years now and really hit it off when we talk about like personal finance and the importance of justice impacted people, especially being more financially astute. Uh, and just going over, not in a judgment sense, but like why more of us don't. So, the beauty of this episode is that, like in some instances, uh, when I talk to formerly incarcerated people or justice impacted people, they talked about how they struggle with money, which is understandable, right? They struggle with money, meaning in terms of either getting a job or once having employment or some type of income, keeping the money, holding on to the money, right? That's always an issue. But in your case, it's very different. And we're very similar in that we are good with money, as they say, relatively speaking. I mean, of course, people have their days when they, have regrets of spending this or not saving as much. But in your case, you save and invest, right, in different vehicles, and that's a good trait. So tell us a little bit, about yourself in the context of money in particular, but in general, whatever you want to share, right,
Mm-hmm.
is public. It's safe.
Yes. Thank you, Joe. I believe that, yeah, always years ago, since we were having these conversations, um, I always tend to lift the the conditions, right? The whys,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not only um social political conditions that curtail economic resources, but it's also how is your relationship with money? How do you understand money?
Right.
What are your needs versus your wants? And
Mm-hmm.
um, I noticed that I had I guess a different lens
Yeah.
when I was held captive, when I was in a carceral space.
Mm-hmm.
I actually i actually fought to start saving there,
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
no one else had I guess had that idea. And for me it was about how I'm going to maneuver once I'm released
Mm-hmm.
in order to still have some type of autonomy.
Right.
That's extremely
Mm-hmm.
important for me.
Mm-hmm.
I did I did start saving while I was inside.
Right, right.
Uh,
So it wasn't an afterthought. Yeah.
no, no. I knew that I was coming out uh, to uh, to a family that is still considered economically at a disadvantage,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
um and I wanted to be able. I did altogether around almost 13 years, and I wanted to help my mom. That was like
Wow.
my
That was
first
the mom.
thing. Be there for my mom, my
Mm-hmm.
grandma,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I came out with with a different political lens as well. So I am not, what I have seen, and I'm not talking in absolute, but what I have seen with my peers is that people get PhDs in Nikes.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I'm like, I'm broke, but I have every type and color of Nikes you could think of. That's a very New York,
Yeah. Right.
culture.
Hmm.
And these are folks in their 40s, in their 50s, even in
Yeah.
their 60s. And I didn't know it was because, okay, I understand that we have been indoctrinated and bombarded in
Yeah.
order to consume um, what we don't have,
Hmm. Hmm.
always placing our population in constant debt. But there's also a lack of information
Yeah.
for justice impacted folks
Definitely.
when they are released. They expect that the measure of success is either get a degree,
Hmm.
get a job where you work 9 to 5, and basically you're gonna be, if you're gonna be in the realm of social justice, you're probably gonna be uh, overworked,
Yeah.
overproducing,
Yeah.
resting less,
Hmm.
and I'm still gonna be involved in causes that are aligned with social, with justice, and but I needed to plan. I couldn't live.
Yeah.
I mean, I needed to plan, and I guess it hit me once I was released,
Hmm.
and I saw the difference in the rent.
Right. Sheesh. Wow. Everything, the price of everything. So let me, all right. So I want to unpack some of the stuff you said because you covered a lot of ground, brought a lot of good stuff. So one of the things you talked about was autonomy, right? Like even from inside, and I think this is important that even though you were physically incarcerated, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you were not, right? Because people who you don't hear that word a lot. I mean, we do know there's some people who operate from that. I certainly did too. That's why one of my brands was Think Outside the Cell. And so it was literally and figuratively thinking outside the cell. It's like, okay, you got my body captive, but I'm not here, 100%. So the whole idea of autonomy, I that really spoke to me because, as you know, prison has, or carceral situations have a way of like stifling your creativity, like really having such a huge impact on your spirit and your sense of autonomy. So I thought, where do you think that came from? Do you think was that like natural? Was it based on your readings? Because I know mine has inspired me. That was one of the parts. Is it like kind of, when I say naturally, like, is it just like kind of like in you? Is it in your blood, from your family, let's talk a little bit about that. Because everyone doesn't have that.
Yeah, I grew up in Puerto Rico
Mm-hmm.
until I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in New York
Mm-hmm.
uh, until I was incarcerated
Okay.
in Jersey in my
Mm-hmm.
20s.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from Puerto Rico, I also come from a different school of thought, and I understood the historical nexus between disenfranchisement of a community of people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Racism, the economic apartheid that exists in the United
Mm-hmm.
States,
Right. Right.
with black and brown folks, indigenous
Yeah.
folks, and how this is an aftermath. These are the roots of poverty.
Yeah.
So I understood that. I also I also understood that I needed to work. I needed to save money. I needed to invest
Hmm.
and in rent. I think when I went in, I used to pay probably 850 for a two-bedroom apartment, and that was in Manhattan.
Wow. Imagine.
And it was I mean, decked out, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the
Mm-hmm.
hardwood floors. It was renovated with a lobby. 850
Wow.
for a two-bedroom,
You
huge.
can't get a closet for that right now in New York City,
You cannot
especially
even get a room. You cannot
right.
even get a room. So I come out, and I'm gonna be, very candid. I came out to stay with my mother
Hmm.
that lives in senior citizen housing, or used to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's how it started. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was lucky that my parole said, "Listen, you're
Mhm.
gonna stay there, but this is a senior citizen housing building. Like, you're not supposed to even be there."
Right. Right.
So
Exactly.
and immediately I, with a degree
Mhm.
already,
Right. Hmm.
I enter college to further my education. And the only work that I could find was in temp agencies, and it hit
Mm,
and it
right.
hit me.
Nah, it better hit
The
you.
hours, the human beings that have those jobs are usually, the third shifts,
Yeah.
usually
Hmm.
documented,
Right.
or justice impacted.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
And I came to the realization, like, wow, I really gotta save up. I really
Hmm.
gotta save up, not
Hmm.
only to provide some type of security and safety, but also for my nucleus. I cannot be good if I
Right.
know my mom is not good, my grandma is not good, my
Right.
dad.
Mm.
So
That was an
so
inspiration.
I
That was a
came out as a
motivation.
full adult.
Mm. Right. No, hey, no, that is so moving. Some people, I'm sure a lot of people have not identical stories. Obviously, all of us have unique stories, but that some people have similar in that they have the rude awakening. They come home, and you're like, oh shit, like I don't
Mhm.
like things are expensive. They don't want to pay as much in a lot of these jobs, especially the ones that are reentry focused, right? Because so it's just not a lot of money. It's not in the organizations, but they hire a lot of people and pay not a lot in many of those. Um, and but I say that to say that even in those situations, you would think that some people would begin to save, right? That the light bulb would go off as it did for you. Why do you think that? And we just, because it's something you and I have talked about, right? And a few times that we've met up, that like, wow, why aren't more of our people, you know, uh, becoming more financially literate and practicing it, like, because you can have the information, you have to apply it. So why do you think, I'm sure you've given it some thought, why do you think more of us are not becoming like financially literate?
We have been indoctrinated that way.
Mm-hmm. It's just that simple.
We
Yeah.
have we have been indoctrinated before incarceration and during incarceration. I mean, how many folks you met that whatever they got on the books, they will spend it on commissary?
It's true. That is
Or,
true.
you know what, I need to
It's
have
true.
5 pair of sneakers, or how
Mhm.
many gray sweatsuits.
Right.
Or,
Exactly.
it's that same pattern of, like, everything that I have, I'm gonna spend it, I'll get more. Or,
More. Yeah.
it's not planning.
Hmm.
I believe that we don't plan enough, and that is not to say that there are not going to be design blocks, so that we
Right.
don't, but once you are informed,
Mhm.
I don't stay in contemplation mode either, Joey. You know me. Like, I
Right.
am.
Right.
I think, I envision, I
Right.
do my research, and I go
Mhm.
into action,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
those are my calculated risk. If it
Right.
did not go out well, okay, it was my money and all. But if it goes out, I'm like, okay, I did something good and I was able to generate. And it took me a lot of years,
Mhm.
and now I am, I have my own, property, right? Like,
Right, exactly.
and
Which is, yeah,
and
kudos to
people
you.
and
Exactly.
people think like, oh, I was like, no, this took actually 9 years
Right. To
of
put it
me
together.
saving. People don't know, but at
Hmm.
some point I slept in the car while going to college.
Wow. 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 That's what I'm saying. People that I didn't know. So now I
Of
know.
course,
And
I don't talk too much about the
yeah.
challenges, but I did. And still, like, I kept on working, I kept on saving. Yes, when once I secured employment,
Hmm.
uh I could have probably, yeah, get a brand new car, get on a
Hmm.
note, get
Right.
a better apartment. I remember
Hmm.
people used to come to my place. It was nice and cozy.
Yeah.
Um, but they're like, I know you get, yes, I know I could pay more, but you know what? In
Hmm.
order for me to save, I lived in a studio that paid, I find a place that was close to. Remember, I moved to New Jersey and I worked in New York. So I
Hmm.
needed proximity, even
Right.
though I was in Jersey. I
Hmm.
needed a place where uh my background and my
Experience and all that. Yeah.
exactly my record history would have not been an
Hmm.
impediment. And what I noticed, I think that was my 14th application.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And I left my mother's place because uh yeah, my family is still involved in a
Yeah.
lot of things
Exactly.
that
That's
they
good.
were when I went in.
Mm. No. Yeah. Like
So
that's
so I couldn't. I was like, okay, I cannot be here because I don't, I'm a parole and I'm doing other things with my life. So
hmm.
um a lot of decisions,
Hmm.
and by saving, I always also did my research.
Did your research.
I,
Okay.
I for 4 years I was looking to go back to Puerto Rico. I was like,
Hmm.
I can't do this.
Hmm.
I need to go back. And then my parents were like, we're not going back.
Oh wow.
And it
Yeah.
was, and then I had to make some sacrifices. Either like,
Right.
okay, you guys are on your own, or I was like, okay,
Right.
to start looking um in places
Yeah.
where my taxes are gonna be
No, that's
lower.
smart.
Like, I would love to, be in New York, but the taxes and all the other
So
things.
expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. But let
But
me just get it.
saving did it for me, and it wasn't like
Saving did.
it was monthly.
It was monthly. No, exactly. No, so a couple things come up. One is the whole thing of delayed gratification, right? Because the inherent in saving, right, is delayed gratification. So it doesn't mean that I think people think that they have to have a lot of money in order to save. It's the same thing like with investing. No, it's one, it's a discipline. It could be more broadly, it's a mindset, but on a basic level, it's a discipline, right? It's saying I'm going to save this amount every week, every month, every time I get paid, whatever the case might be, because of some future goal or some future thing that you want to accomplish. And so that's where the delayed gratification comes in, because most of us, as you said, we've been indoctrinated, especially in this country, but all other parts of the world as well, but especially in this country, especially in a fast-paced place like New York City. It's about hustle and bustle, right? It's also about instant gratification, right? So people think in order for me, they don't have to think about it now. They're conditioned to think that in order for me to live comfortably or to have what I want, I need to spend it now. I can't, that's it. It's like end of the story. People don't even, they don't even
But
think
what's
beyond.
beneath that? What's beneath
Yeah.
that when what is beneath when I have to spend
Hmm.
so that others see a different worth?
Exactly, to try to impress other people. We did this is like I said, the second official episode of this podcast, and I did one with a sister, a young lady who talked. It was real talk because she talked about emotional spending.
Mm.
So for a lot of people, men, women, just people in general, a lot of, especially coming out of a prison, right? Many of us went in with all sorts of trauma. Then it's uh, magnified while incarcerated, and then it continues when you come out. People are reminded, like I said, they come out with college degrees. I went to school on the inside, and then you still got to worry about if your felony conviction is going to prevent you from getting a job, and that stigma, people carry it sometimes, for the rest of their lives in different ways. Some of us, unfortunately, are crippled by it, and I mean that, like emotionally and spiritually crippled. And so I think we mask the pain, or try to mask the pain, by spending and trying to look a certain way, to trying to make a point, I guess, to the world that I am valuable. When clothes and material things don't make you. They really don't.
And that's at an individual level. But at a collective level,
Mm-hmm.
then how do I don't know if people realize that poverty creates wounds.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about psychological wounds. If you really
Yes.
think about it, Joe, when you talk about people that have been part of underground economy,
Mm-hmm.
at hustle, usually their first, if they started as teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually to get their gear right.
Right. Right. That was my
It
story.
wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh, I needed to put food. No, it was to get your clothes right. So
Yeah.
it is those deep psychological wounds
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
poverty brings,
Mm-hmm.
that affect everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Health
Yeah.
wise,
Mm-hmm.
your securities of housing,
Mm-hmm.
what job are you going to get? The way, I think what was important, or what was essentially me saving, was
Mm-hmm.
I I wanted to own my time.
Wow, that's you speaking. Yeah, that's
To
what
me, it
that's
was
what it's
like
about.
people did not speak enough about, you know, having your time to be more involved in social
Right.
justice, uh,
Mm-hmm.
issues. So for me, it was like, how can I invest what I have saved, help my family, so that it's not that I am the one eating and you guys are still
Mm-hmm.
managing, helping my family, and also have more time with me. Everybody has different ways of investing. With me, it came back to land.
Came back to land. Okay. No, beautiful. No, that's beautiful. But you hit on something that I think about more and more, and I'm not just saying that. Is my time and owning my time. There's a book that I've read twice. Dan Martell is his name. It's called Buy Back Your Time.
Mm.
Really, really, really good book. I watch his videos. I subscribe to his channel. And so, yeah, that is really important, especially as someone who did 25 years, right?
Mm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like my time is valuable. And sometimes I slip and I realize I'm like, why am I, uh, you know, hanging out with this person, this friend, or whatever. And I don't mean to say it like that, but sometimes we could, or I can, forget that I need to value my time more, right? But I am very mindful of it, and especially in the context of work, right? Because we are taught to go to school, 18 years, whatever, from 5 to 18, then if you're going to get a 4 year degree and then maybe two more, you go on and on and on before you know it.
That's what dominant culture teaches.
Yeah, exactly. And
But
it's
we
yeah.
gotta
It's
we gotta be
conditioning.
critical. We gotta be critical thinkers about all of it.
We have to, because before you know it, you wake up, you know, 40 years later, now you're in your 60s after working, let's say the traditional, like people, you know, you don't do time in prison, you're in school, let's say in your early 20s to your mid 60s, and you hope that you're going to get a social security check, and pensions are gone if you didn't save or invest.
That was a
You
huge.
have nothing. Yeah, it's just it's a
No
failed.
children. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, here I am, uh, uh, being almost like the matriarch of my family, but how am I did not when people say re-entry, I am entering for the first time in the
Right. Right.
socio-economic,
Right.
sphere. So everything else was not taxable,
Yep.
underground, no
Right.
zero, no
Right.
credit. I was a ghost.
Right.
uh
Right.
and now it's like, oh wow, like I gotta be thinking that
Hmm.
I did not had employment, that I
Yep.
was able to
Exactly.
save all this, so when I retire, there's no retiring now.
Exactly.
So you
Exactly.
come out at a certain age, and you are already placed in a situation
Disadvantage.
where you're gonna, those are setbacks
No.
by
No.
the
That's
aftermath of being incarcerated. So I needed to think that, okay, maybe in my 60s, in my
mhm.
50s, I'm gonna be tired.
Right. Right. Right.
So I was like, okay, I need to work as much as I can. And what I did, I was a full-time student. This is months after my release. Full-time
Hmm.
student,
Hmm.
working the law library
Hmm.
at Rutgers,
Hmm.
having a part-time and working third shift
Working the third.
at
Wow.
a,
You were
at
not
a,
playing. You
and it
were not
was
playing.
bad. And maybe sleeping 3 to 4 hours.
Wow. Wow. You better than me, because I need my sleep. If I don't have
No,
my
I
sleep,
do.
I'm in
I do
trouble.
too. I do too. Rest is resistance. I do too. But
Right.
when I was released, I knew that I needed to. I needed to do that, and I also have to say that women have different specific issues when
Right.
they
That's
are
true.
released after being in carceral spaces.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
I decided to, within, I want to say, within my second, going on my second year, I secured employment, and from there it was budgeting,
Yeah.
it was saving, uh and it was just follow up what I envisioned, right? Like I had
Mhm.
steps, actually had
Of the
steps.
steps. Yeah. You mapped it
people
out.
don't people don't activate their muse. I'm able
Right.
to activate my imagination, and and,
Hmm.
and envision. then
And then
then I
apply.
contemplate, I research,
Hmm.
uh
Hmm.
and it was even, where do I even put this, and even in what bank, it was learning things
Hmm.
that I was not, I don't think I was as informed as you when you were in a carceral space.
But you
Most of
learned it.
about interest, credit, I learned while yeah.
After, was it after the fact? So I mean, but you said inside, because I think you said inside you
I
uh
did say
made like a
I
campaign, right? It was like
invested.
a campaign or something like that, and
I
you
did.
got it done.
Well, it was that I told others that were close to me, you have to open you
Right.
have to open
Mm-hmm. And
something
found.
so that you don't touch it. If you think you're gonna touch it, you will have it when you leave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I needed to build credit.
Yeah.
And to be honest, while everybody was getting the Pell Grant
Mm-hmm.
and spending it on books and
Mm-hmm.
clothes, I spent that first Hill granted an investment, and
Wow.
I was able
Wow.
to flip it.
That's smart. That's
And,
smart.
and it was, I
That's
was
smart.
able to invest it and flip it. And I
Yeah.
think that's where I started like, oh, hold on. Like we are doing this in a way that is even more difficult.
Right. No, that's amazing. A friend of mine, right? We were talking the other day, Dominican guy. We grew up together. I'm not gonna say his name. Maybe he'll watch this, and hopefully he don't curse me out. But one of the things, and he did time as well. He did maybe a total of 5 years or something like that. Between like two bids or something. And but he's been home for 25 years. He's into physical fitness, he's training, has his own business, doing this thing, right? And he's traveled the world. He's, yeah, he's done things. He's done well. But one of the things he didn't do was invest, right? So, meaning invest in real estate, invest in a business, invest in stocks and bonds. Those are the main three ways in this country that people become wealthy, right? He thought about it. He talked about it. He was around people who did it. Later, when I came home, I was like, this is what I'm doing. I invest, blah, blah, blah. I teach this stuff. He's seen me, give presentations. But anyway, so now he's like really frustrated. I'm 55, he's 54. We've known each other almost 40 years now. Growing up in the projects in East New York, right? And his thing is like, I don't know why I didn't act on it. I didn't save. And so now he's feeling it now. I sense it every time, because as you said, when you own your own time, doesn't mean you're never going to need money, but it means that in the context of investing, right, whether it's real estate or some other type of legal investment, that it could carry you over, right? In other words, it can free up your time. It can, if done correctly. And
And
so,
invest in ideas.
yeah, yeah,
Use
you
your
get it.
money to invest in your own ideas as
Exactly.
opposed to always working for somebody else's ideas.
Exactly. No, exactly. And that's what so now we would, what was this, like maybe 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we were sitting down in the neighborhood. I live on the west side, he lives on the east side. And I was saying to him, I was like, the thing about when you have money work for you, let's just put
Mhm.
it that way. However you invest, you have money working for you. Doesn't mean you don't have to do anything. It depends on what you're investing in. But it doesn't matter if you're sick, if you are going through stuff, you know, physically or in a relationship, meaning your money is working for you while all that stuff is happening. That's what I was pointing out to him, right? So now that it sometimes means you have to draw from that money, but if you don't have it, you don't have it to draw. The point is to have it working for you. We bust our asses for 20, 30 years in prison and out, right? And then when we're in our 50s and 60s, we have very little show for it. And then we end up in some grocery store packing bags or something like that. I'm just being really brutally honest. When I
Yeah.
when I go to the store, I see nice people. Some of them clearly older than me, 10 or more years older than me. And I'm like, do they want? I ask myself, I said, do they want to do this or do they have to do it? And that's the reason why I came up with, and this is just a quick plug though, that's why I came up with the book, the SSI method, that focuses on building wealth by having, like the words you use, you had a plan, right? So it's to have a spending plan, plan how you spend your money. Don't just spend it. Like be thoughtful in the process, be mindful. The same thing with savings, right? You had a plan. You didn't get to where you at like overnight. Like you said, you didn't have or access in the prison that you was in. I did have access and I took advantage of it, and I
Mm.
did it very early, right? I was like 24 when I started reading this, because for me, meaning reading about personal finance and entrepreneurship, for me, like you, I was thinking, I said, this is not it. This is not the end of my story. I got a plan for a better life, and I got to um, like nothing's going to be handed to me. Nothing ever was. So I started reading about it, took an interest in it, and here we are 30 years later. But having a savings plan and then having an investing plan, whether it's real estate, business, stocks, bonds, mutual fund, whatever. But and for the most part, it doesn't take a lot of time, meaning over the course, because I look at it as a lifestyle. So because I'm always learning, I've always been an avid student and reader and stuff like that since I was a kid. So for me, it's not like work when I read for a half hour or an hour or so. I'm currently reading a book by Tony Robbins. I've had it for a while, but this is his third book, called the Holy Grail. And he's unpacking. It's just amazing, all these other ways, what they call alternative investments. So we think, like, like for example, we hear the terms private equity, right? So I've heard about it, but now he's breaking it down more, simplifying it after interviewing some of the wealthiest people in the financial world on the earth, like on the earth, the top people, like that. These are his friends, basically. So he took it. It's almost like Robin Hood. He took the information from them and
Right.
now sharing it with the common person like you or I. And so I was reading that on my plane, on the flight down to Atlanta, where I'm at now. But I say all that to say that, so my friend, I keep saying, well, it's not too late. You lost time because the issue with money is time and money go together. The longer you invest, the potential for greater gains, right? So we don't know when it's going to be over for us, but at least you got to get started. So that's why I emphasize to them. But yes, I just wanted to say that that's how I came up with the idea for the SSI method. I was talking with another friend who I've known for 30 years. We were in Green Haven, incarcerated in 1995, and he's 10 years older than me. And this is years ago, early in the pandemic, and I was in Jamaica, Queens with him. And he inspired me. I told him after the fact, because like you, I'm a creative person. So I'm always thinking of stuff, right? And so he was talking about how his best friend was about to retire. So, and that
At
he, huh?
what age?
Like 60, 62, something like that. He never did time. And he's like, he's retiring. He's got like a BMW, a Benz, a house in Queens. He's very comfortable. And my
Okay.
friend was saying it not out of animosity. It was very matter of fact. We were just like walking. And he was like, man, I wish I could retire. I can't. I have to work. I did 27 years. I have nothing saved, no. And the light bulb went off in that moment. I was like, wow. Now I had already been saving and investing, mostly investing. I do mostly investing. Keep, a little emergency fund, but I need my money working for me, period.
And you saved it in different, you saved in emergency fund. So savings is not only for me, oh, that's it. I got out and all I'm doing it. No. I'm also traveling. I
Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
a goal for me to travel. I
Exactly.
also have to, I love to learn from different cultures, movements,
Exactly.
people, communities. So
Exactly.
it's like, okay, this money it was about budgeting in a way that I was able
To do that.
to
Exactly. And
to have
that's
my goals met.
exactly. No,
On my
that's it. But it goes to your original point. If you don't plan, then the money's not going to be there. It's not like going to just show up. And that's what people think. What's sad in this country, and it's not just justice impacted people, but for a lot of people who work, they say, oh, when I get my income tax money, right?
Yeah,
Then I'm going to do this and that and that. No, it has to be a life. That's not a lifestyle. That's like waiting once a year to get, hopefully
yeah.
you get a refund, and then you pay your bills and you maybe take a trip, as opposed to really looking at how you spend, right? Looking at how much money you're bringing in first, right? And what sources. Look at how much you're spending, what you're spending it on, and why you're spending it, right? Because that goes back to the emotional spending. For many of us, we are spending out of emotional pain. They have the phrase retail therapy. So a
Mm.
lot of us, instead of seeing a therapist or some professional or talking through our stuff, we spend. We try to buy our way out of the pain, and that's the sad part. It's the reality. It's not limited to people with the time, but it's probably more acute. It's probably more, pervasive when it comes to our body. Because, like I said, we talking about people who have gone through all sorts of trauma,
Right.
and so after going through the
Poverty,
trauma,
poverty is not an illusion.
it's not an illusion.
Also a result and a product of many policies
And
that
that's
were not
true.
true,
That reinforces it. That creates
that
it
were
and
not
reinforces it.
races that were meant to be designed in order for you to be removed out of resources
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and part of our systems.
No, it really is. It really is. And but now you, I'm sure, because we've had conversations, and some other people understand it on a deeper level. Like people, I think people know it. You know, they say, "Oh, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer," but people don't research. The average person is not like going deeper to find to make the connections to see, like, "Oh, wow, this is by design here." Right? It's no coincidence. It's by design that when it comes to credit, for example, many of us are credit invisible, as they call. We have no credit at all. We rather deal with cash. Banks, if you're trying to buy a house, chances are you're not going to put down $500,000, right? People, you mortgage it, right? You put a certain amount down and then you leverage the rest, right? You have the bank basically finance
So
it.
where are you looking? What type of houses? There are houses
Exactly.
that are in foreclosure auction.
Exactly.
You don't have
Exactly.
to me. I cut the middleman out. How,
Mm,
how can I cut the real estate
right.
so that
Exactly.
I don't have to pay an extra 30K?
Right. Exactly. To pay some broker when you could do it on your own.
So it was about um learning new ways so that I would not. It came, you asked me where did it come from? It was out of living in survival.
Survivor.
In the
Exactly.
state of emergency of seeing my mom in her 70s still working.
Right. That's what I mean. That
So
part.
it's visual. I'm seeing it.
Hmm.
I'm also understanding how being at an economic disadvantage affects my stability. That is
Hmm.
housing, my health, what type of
Hmm.
insurance you have,
Right.
um,
Hmm.
the places where I'm gonna be around.
Hmm.
Affects the quality of life, and I I
Hmm.
believe that what did it for me was the necessity,
Hmm.
and the urgency that I feel like, wow, now that I have all this energy,
Yeah. Right. Right.
I am going to do this.
Hmm.
And
Excellent.
of course, to give yourself the next 5 years, I'm gonna. For some people, they might not do even the next 5 hours, the
Right.
next five days. I said to myself, okay, the next 5 years, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have to take it a little bit, and
Mhm.
keep saving until I was able to maneuver in a way because I was already feeling it in my body.
Right. Right.
The exhaustion,
Yeah.
the ailments that come
Hmm.
after being so healthy, even
Yeah.
the health the the health department and
And
facility in prison is
it's a joke. No, it's a
not
joke.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was out of that. It was out of not living in survival and
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
going back to to things that could land me back in prison.
Exactly. So no, that's great. So that those things motivated you,
Yeah.
basically. They motivated you. You was like, I gotta save. You mentioned because we're gonna go a few minutes, then we're gonna wrap up. You talked about your mom and your grandmother, how they were motivators or inspiration. You talked about again, I use the word delayed gratification because you thought you had a vision of a future lifestyle that you wanted, and you know that you had to, as we say, put the work in. Like it doesn't just happen.
Calculate
Like
risk. You
yeah,
have to. At
you
some
have.
point, you're
Mhm.
gonna have to take a calculated risk. Are you just gonna do it, or are you gonna plan it and be
Exactly.
informed? So
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
I-
I want to close out with a few things. Oh no, go ahead, say it again.
I'm an action type of woman.
No, that's great.
So
Yeah.
that if my choices were constrained,
Mm-hmm.
there's more
Mm-hmm.
power controlling over me. And I'm
You ain't with
self
that.
determination is up on my list.
Right, right. No, no, no. That's great. No, that's. I think that's what like without even knowing, like I don't know, it was maybe 3 years ago. I think we met or something like that at one of the the galas. Um, but you could tell like the energy, like somebody who's about their business. Like you, sometimes you could tell, like you could, you could just read energy and stuff, and so that's a wonderful thing. And you're, to be honest, like really an inspiration. More people need to hear from you, to be honest, right? And I mean that. I'm not just saying it because you are living it. Like you are not just like talking it, you're living it. Many people have read books, they got degrees, they this and that, but you sometimes you can't tell. It's just like with religion. People say that they're a certain religion, and you can't tell, right? You can't tell. But in your case, you know, people may not know your full backstory, but they can see that you are a determined person, that you are like you can joke and all that, but you're serious too. You get it done. You get
Hmm.
it done. So I definitely applaud you for that. And like I said, I know you have other things, so I'm not going to take up more of your time. I will send you a copy of the recording. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And we want to spread the word. We want to get other justice impacted people, not just in New York, not just like, SOS and stuff like that. This is for justice impacted people across the country, across the world, to have these type of conversations. People come at it from different angles because, like I said, in your case, the way I look at it is like you come from a place of strength, right? Which is wonderful and it's refreshing, right? Because a lot of our people have been broken, by the system. I mean, it's designed to do that, right? And I don't mean that I mean, they work, they have jobs and all of that,
Or
but
the
they,
system,
huh?
and the system before the system.
Exactly.
Now
That
that
part.
behavior, and maybe that's another show.
Yeah.
How to undo the wounds, the psychological wounds of what it
Chattel
is
slavery.
or
Yeah.
living scarcity.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. Because it is a continuum. Yeah, that's when it's those psychological, and we'll do that. We'll definitely. I want to have those type of shows. And one of the things I would say this. One thing I talked about with Anthony, is perhaps using the office or maybe even the space in his place to do like small group sessions
Yes.
where we really vibe and unpack this stuff. Because I think, like I said, I think for the most part, people notice like surf on the surface level, but we don't get deep with it, right? And it's when we really do. For me, like you, when I did a lot of introspection 30 years ago, and I started really connecting, thinking about stuff, reading, and having relatively quiet time. I say relatively quiet
And
because we know
challenge and agitate the culture, the carceral culture. And it's
exactly.
side.
Hmm.
If you if you take on credit, that's a different thing.
Right, right, exactly. That's true. On the
So
inside, there's no joke.
a lot of people out here, usually we're like, no, 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 I pay everything cash, or I don't do this, and I'm like, oh, hold on, you're still with the
Right,
carceral mindset that you
right.
I am not going to
Juggle, do it.
build
That's what we
this,
used to call
that,
it, the juggle.
to
And it's
take
like,
on
no,
credit
like
is not good
it's
because
different.
it can mean later problems.
Yes, exactly. No, exactly. No, that's a very good point. That's
Culture.
worth a discussion. Like the connection people make between that. Like what do you think about that? Right?
Yep.
Because like I said, I keep saying I'll close out. But Robert Kiyosaki in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad really got me thinking. I read it in 1998, I believe, or nine or something like that. And he's talking about good debt versus bad debt. Good debt meaning according to his way of thinking, is debt that generates that purchases assets that generates income. So in other words, that's why people buy homes or properties, right? And assets. So they go in debt, right? Because they put it down. In most cases, people put a down payment, and then they will finance the rest, and then they have the tenants pay off the debt. while they
Right.
have steady cash flow. So that's one way of doing it. But if you just have the debt and no cash flow, then it's just debt, right? And it's somebody else's cash flow,
Right.
right?
And
Yes,
there are other ways, um there are houses or property that you just gotta invest in fixing.
right. No, exactly.
No,
Yep.
do
Fix
you,
up.
yeah, can do you have the time to invest? Do you know people that can help you build it, that you could learn? There's also programs that are not well known if you're a first time home buyer. So
Right. You got it goes back to we're gonna close up. It goes back to you mentioned several times research. I looked into it. I looked into it, and people have to put the time in. We got time to go to I mean, people can have their lives, and should enjoy life, but we got time to plan for trips that some of us that we can't afford, or parties, or this or that. It's like we need to make the time. We call it
right,
sacrifice, whatever you want to call it. It's an investment of time that will
right.
make a difference. So again, I'm gonna close out by mentioning the book. Think Outside the Cell is another one of my books, right? That people can get. That's what got the whole thing started.
This
So
to bring inside.
exactly. No, it should be. And I got to work on getting in it. I actually am in the process of talking to, I forgot his name. And he did time in Detroit. This guy did time in Detroit. Now he goes inside the prisons and stuff like that. So I'm working on. I connected with some of his people, and we're gonna try to get it on the tablets all across the country and all of that, and for free, because people need to have an ownership mindset. That's what I talk about. Own a business, own real estate, own stocks. You need to own something, right? But first, you need to own your thoughts, right? You need to own your
Mm,
own thoughts. Let's start there, right? Because if we don't have an ownership mindset, then the rest is yeah, it's not good. But anyway, thanks again, Evelise, and it's been a pleasure, and we'll catch up soon. So thanks again. I will send, like I said, a link to once it downloads, because I have to save it, download. But I'll send you a link. It'll be on YouTube live. It'll be also on Facebook. I see that I was having some problems with LinkedIn. Not sure, but anyway, it's been a pleasure, and let's spread the word so we can get more people on it.
thank you, Joe. Always.
All right. So you take care. All right.
You
Talk to
too.
you soon. All right. Bye bye. All right.
Thank you.
All right.